At any rate, the girl was sacrificed, and the wind came up, and we sailed for Troy. And so now we're at Troy, and the great hero of Troy is this great big physical he-man, Achilles. And I want to use him in this story as representing the masculine attitude, the sheerly brutal masculine attitude, and their relationship to women as that of master to property. Who owns this woman? Whose woman is she? Whose woman was Helen anyhow? Did she not have the power of her own choice as to the person with whom she would be? The amusing part of the start of this great epic, the Iliad, is of the sulking in his tent of Achilles. There were a couple of beautiful women who had been taken captive, Trojan women, and one of them was the young blonde Briseis. And the question, you might say, is who gets the blonde? Is it going to be Achilles, or is it going to be the big, high field marshal and master of the whole expedition, Agamemnon? Well, Achilles was in love with Briseis, as far in love as one can get in that attitude toward a human being. And Agamemnon, on the other hand, wanted her. Achilles had to relinquish her. And what we see here is Achilles saying goodbye to Briseis and turning her over to Agamemnon, who sits here in majesty. This is a Pompeian relief from the 1st century A.D., representing the old tradition, which is by then 700 years old. And then it begins with Achilles sulking in his tent. He won't fight, and here he sits sulking. Well, it was very important that he should fight because he was the great champion of the Greeks, and they knew they couldn't overwhelm the Trojan powers without this champion. And so they send Odysseus to argue with him. Now, Odysseus has the reputation of being the most intelligent person of the whole lot. He's called Odysseus of many devices. And here we see him trying to reason with Achilles. He said, oh, come on now, come out of it, and get in there and fight. Nothing doing. Achilles sits there sulking in his tent. Achilles' very close friend, however, Patroclus, is wounded in a battle, and this very famous and handsome 5th century ceramic piece shows Achilles binding the wounds of Patroclus. The next event is, however, the death of Patroclus, where he's killed. And then we have what is called by Homer the wrath of Achilles. And to go in avenging the death of his friend Patroclus, Achilles throws off his sulk and goes out to battle. Now, the great context of the Iliad is a context of battle and warcraft. It's the great, magnificent statement of Bronze Age warrior life. The ultimate victory, however, the ultimate combat, is a championship combat between Achilles and Hector. Hector, the master of Troy, the great champion of Troy. It's a very interesting thing about this Greek epic. It's written ostensibly from the point of view of the Greeks, but actually the hero, the person who represents the more highly developed, noble humanity and heroic humanity, is Hector, the Trojan hero. And here, in this slide that I'm showing, we have Hector saying goodbye to his wife, Andromache. It's a lovely scene. He has this great helmet on, and on her arm, not shown here, but it will be seen in the next slide, is their child, Astyanax, a lovely little boy who is afraid of his father's helmet. And there's a gentle, tender scene where the father takes the helmet off and puts it down so as not to frighten his little boy, and he's saying goodbye to go out to war and to his death. Andromache, his wife, knows that he's no match for Achilles. No one in the world is a match for Achilles, and she says, don't go, he'll kill you. And then comes the wonderful, heroic word. No man can avoid his destiny. and I'm going to mine, and I'm not going to avoid it, and where death comes, I die as a man. Out he goes to battle. And here we see from an early 9th century metal bas-relief the departure here of a war hero stepping into these light war chariots, and the wife there with the little child on her shoulder. It's a very tender, it's a beautiful, it's a very human scene, and it's rendered here in a lovely way. And then Hector is killed. And he's killed by this great, powerful man, who then ties his corpse to his chariot and drives him 3 times, insultingly, you might say, around Troy. Gives you a sense of the brutality of these days and these figures. However, there is a theory that Troy was not only protected by walls of stone, but protected also by walls of magic. And that this driving around Troy in this way with the corpse of Hector at the chariot, dragged behind the chariot, was a way of unwinding the magic. In any case, another beautiful scene where the Trojans are greater than Achilles, at any rate, is that of Priam, the father of Hector, come to claim his son's body, to ask for it from Achilles. And here we have coming with gifts to this warrior conqueror, begging for the return of his son.